for some your connection cuts out, no worries. You will be receiving a recording after the class has ended for you to watch. And two, able to hear me now at all? Everyone else able to hear me? If you guys are able to hear, please throw a yes in the chat box. Chris, awesome. Jordan can hear me as well. Hold on a quick second. Perfect. Tristan can hear as well. All right. Okay, all right, so we'll get rolling here. So again, second thing is if you guys have any questions throughout the throughout the class, feel free to shoot them in the chat box below, and I will answer them as they come in. But getting going here, this is Wrestling Recruiting 101. My name is Eric. I'm the head wrestling recruiting coach here at NCSA. So as far as my background goes, for you that don't know, I'm a former Division I wrestler and Division I coach. I wrestled and coached at Central Michigan University, where we were a top 20 program in the nation every year I was there. I was an American Conference champion, a national qualifier, as well as considered ranked in the top 25 in the nation as an individual. After I've done wrestling, I stuck around and coached as an assistant and director of operations for 3 years at NCSA at Central Michigan, and then came over to NCSA after that, and been here for going on 4 years now, helping wrestling families going through the recruiting process. All right, quick overview of what we're going to be going through here tonight. First off, we're going to be breaking down the division levels and the basics within them, kind of talk about how things work, their scholarship opportunities at each, give a quick look into the recruiting timeline, and then some basic tips for the wrestling recruiting process just to keep in mind throughout. First thing here, this is something I throw into a lot of my classes, just kind of showing you the numbers of what is out there as far as the wrestling recruiting process goes. In high school, there's just under 260,000 wrestlers that participate in the sport of wrestling, which makes wrestling one of the top 7 most participated sports in high school athletics. Now, unfortunately, this does transition over to college, and the opportunities and the numbers aren't the same. You know, at the NCAA level, so meaning Division I, Division II, and Division III programs, there's roughly about 7,600 wrestlers currently at those programs. So what that equates out to is just about 3% of high school wrestlers will go and wrestle at a NCAA program. Now, when you factor in the AIA and junior college, that number is closer to 9,500, and percentage right around 5. So it's still very narrow and very slim. So what does that mean? That means you have to take advantage of every opportunity you can, every resource you can, to make sure that you're getting into that 5% that is finding a place to wrestle in college and a good fit for you, and get ahead of those other 260,000 high school wrestlers that are out there. As far as the division levels go, this is how they break down within wrestling. At the NCAA level, you got the Division I, Division II, and Division III levels. You have the AIA, and then you have junior colleges and community colleges. Different sports have different deals. Like in football, for example, they have Division I single A and Division I Double A, that doesn't exist in wrestling. It's only Division I, Division II, Division III, NAI, junior colleges, and community colleges. Now, there are also club programs that a lot of schools have, but what programs are usually run by the student athletes or have a part-time coach coaching them. They aren't varsity programs that are funded by the university. They're not, and they do not give out athletic money. So, that's an opportunity at a lot of schools, but it's not a varsity level program. Up here at the Division I level, currently there are 78 college programs at the Division I level. At the Division I level, they're able to give out 9.9 full scholarships. So when you think about that, a starting lineup in college wrestling is 10 wrestlers. So at the Division I level, a coach doesn't even have enough scholarships to give all of their wrestlers. And, to everyone, the wrestlers in their starting lineup, and them to get a full ride. So what that means is these coaches are really going to be splitting up those scholarships and making them go as far as possible. 5% here, 50% there. When I was at Central, the big scholarship we ever gave out was 85%. And that's to a guy that was a three-time state champ and school national champion. So, what that means is that academics is so important, especially in a sport like wrestling, because you're able to pair your academics and athletics. That's what happens a lot of times in college wrestling. Full ride athletically are very unheard of in college wrestling. A lot of times when you hear someone saying that they are getting a full ride or they're getting their full tuition covered, they're getting athletic and academic money to cover that. So as far as the division level goes, there's going to be a good number of walk-ons, recruited walk-ons that will be on a Division I school that will, can work their way into a scholarship down the line. But there'll be a lot of walk-ons there because of the number of scholarships. And that number is also not per year. That is to be spread out among the team at any given time. And then at the Division I level, this is, usually your top wrestlers in the country, your multiple-time state placers, your multiple-time state champions, your high school All-Americans, your national champions are going to consist of the majority of wrestlers that are, getting athletic money and starting at the Division I level. So in NAIA, we put these two together because the NAIA is most closely comparable to Division II programs as far as size of schools, competition, and the fact that they are able to give out athletic aid. So at the Division II level, there's currently 54 colleges. NAIA, there's 45. Division II level, they can give out 9 scholarships. At the NAIA level, they can give out 8. Same thing goes with scholarships with the Division I. They're going to be split up and try to make them go as far as possible. Again, there's going to be close in competition, but one thing to remember within wrestling, NAIA, Division II, Division III are all mixed together as far as level of competition. There's good wrestling at each level. I would go to college opens and I would wrestle in them, or I would coach at them. I would see Division II, NAI, junior college even, and Division III guys taking out Division I guys all the time. I lost to those guys in these college opens where all levels get together. So there is good wrestling at each level. Don't think that if you don't go Division I, you're not wrestling in as far as good competition goes. Definitely not true. There is very good competition at each level. Following up on their Division III, currently, hold on a quick second. Okay, all right, so at the Division III level, this is currently the largest concentration of wrestling schools in the country. 88 colleges currently have Division III wrestling programs. They do not give out athletic scholarships. That's just a rule within Division III schools across all sports. Now, a lot of people here know athletic aid at the Division III level, and they're instantly turned off. When it's very common where I actually see able to get more money out of Division III schools than at D1, D2, or NAI. program. Reason being, the way Division III schools work with their money is financial aid and grant packages that will be based off of academics, merit, and need. And because they are private institutions mostly, they're able to, give more money out for those type for accolades. So, as long as you qualify for it, everyone on a team could be getting $25,000 a year. There are no caps like there are on the athletic scholarships at the Division I, Division II, Division III level. Now, I've seen Division III, not the Division III level, Division I, Division II, and NAI. I've seen financial packages at the Division III level be $30,000 plus a year. So, don't just because there are no athletic scholarships at the Division III level that you can't get your college paid for. A lot of times you end up getting much more paid for. Are competitive or on par with those D2 and even some D1 programs. And like I said, there's good wrestling everywhere. You have to look to find it. But all the D2, D3, NAI kind of mix together as far as competition level goes. Our junior college, community college here. Currently, there are 44 junior college programs throughout the country. They are able to give out 16 athletic scholarships. Now, this is if they are fully funded. You rarely see a fully funded junior college program, so that number is usually much less than that. Competition will vary depending on the school. There are a lot of schools that are almost like feeder programs to four-year programs and everything. A lot of times junior college programs could be seen as a starting off point for someone that may not have the grades of what they need and have to catch back up, or able to knock out classes for cheap and then transfer, or even from an athletic standpoint have to develop a little bit more. Be seen as a starting point. I'd say about the top 20, maybe 25 schools are competitive, but there can be some fall off once you get towards the bottom a little bit. So there's definitely some good competition at those levels. That's more if you have to dig for that at the other levels. I'm jumping into here on the next part, kind of going over the recruiting process and timeline, going into the forms of contact, how things work there, how the offer timeline works, and the signing periods. Breaking the forms of contact down into two different areas here, interest and then no interest or general list. So first thing, obviously, if a coach is offering you a scholarship, you're one of their main targets. They want you to be part of that team, and they want to give you money to do it. They offer you a spot on the team, so meaning you are considered a recruited walk-on, and you're not receiving athletic aid, but they want you to be part of their team. That is absolutely a good sign. A lot of times, if you get an opportunity like that, you're going to be able to work into a scholarship. So those can be great opportunities. A coach offers you an official visit. This is usually the step right before some type of official offer is made. So if you can get out on an official visit, that is definitely a good sign. Anytime you can meet with the coach in person, on campus or off campus, is a great sign. If they're willing to take time out of their day and want to meet you in person, a good sign. They give you an idea of where you stand on their list of recruits. Inside look at their recruiting and their recruiting board. So usually if they're telling you this, you're usually around the top of their list of recruits. So obviously a great sign. Phone communication. If you're getting direct phone communication with a coach, awesome. This is a lot more personal way of exchanging information than an email. So phone call is definitely a great sign. Then last thing, their personal email communication. So this means not just changing your name and that email could go out to 100 different kids, meaning it's specific just for you. They make it very clear that this is an email directed at you. Getting personal email communication, obviously it's a good sign and definitely a jumping off point. No interest or generalist. So if you're receiving camp brochures, being a former coach, I tell you firsthand, camp moneymakers for college programs. They want to try to get out and try to get as many kids as they can to their college camps, make as much money as they can. So if you're just receiving a camp brochure without any personal communication beforehand, more than likely you're on a general list for them. Questionnaires. If a coach is sending out a questionnaire, it's I would definitely suggest you filling it out, as it can be a starting point for the recruiting process, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's general interest there yet. And then last thing, there are general letters or emails asking you to submit or attend questionnaires, transcripts, test scores, schedules. Again, if you get this stuff, I would absolutely suggest following up with the coach and sending them this information. But this is more of a filling out process to see if they want to continue on and get deeper into communication. Again, more of a starting process. Okay, offer timeline, how things work here. At the Division I level, majority of recruiting is going to take place between the back end of the junior year and the senior year. The wrestling recruiting process is a late process, being weight change. It's for a coach to recruit a kid as a freshman or sophomore if he has no idea what weight he's going to be coming out. So it is a later recruiting process. And a lot, like I said, D1, back end of junior year and throughout the senior year is going to be the majority of the recruiting process. Division II, usually offers occur during the senior year. They use, a lot of times Division II schools kind of want to see some wrestlers that may fall through the D1 tracks and kind of go after them. And NAI and D3 schools will start earlier. Reason being is because of the rules, they're able to contact student athletes well before D1 and D2 schools go, so they can start a lot earlier, but the strongest interest is really going to come during the senior year. Okay, periods. So for a national letter of intent, the early signing period is November in your senior year. It varies from year to year. This past year, it was the 14th through the 21st. It is a 7-day window for the early signing period. Regular signing period is April. Comes around April in the senior year. So what in between November and April, the offers and commitments can be made. It's just during these periods is when an actual letter of intent can be signed. The April signing period goes all the way up until August 1st, so that's a pretty open window. The early signing period, usually these are the guys that are coaches' top targets, a lot of the top level guys in the nation. I would say probably 90% of the wrestlers that are going through the recruiting process are going to be committing in April. With the NLI, this only applies to Division I and Division II programs, but does not include military academies or Ivy League programs. Military academies, if you end up getting into and wrestling at the Naval, Air Force, or military academy, your tuition is paid for in terms of your service when you graduate from school. So there is no national letter of intent because there's no athletic scholarships there. There is a appointment letter that you would be signing that would be committing you to the military. And then Ivy League schools cannot give out athletic scholarships, so there is no letter of intent to sign there. Division III schools have a school deposit, but they also have a ceremonial letter of intent. It's not binding like an NLI. It's more of just a ceremonial kind of thing to sign to show that you are committing to that school. The NAIA does have a letter of intent. It's not the same as the NLI. They do have a letter of intent. Junior colleges have a letter of intent as well, and you can sign that beginning January 15th of your senior year. Basic for the wrestling recruiting process. First off, a national level tournament to help get exposure. If you're looking for Division I schools and top level D2 or D3 schools, you're going to want to get out to the national level tournaments and events to get these coaches' radars. Getting involved with quality clubs will also help with this too. Obviously, it's going to help with your wrestling, one, but two, those coaches usually push the wrestlers that are part of their clubs towards these type of events. Depending on state, this is going to vary as well. Coaches do view states and competition on tiers, so you may have to do more coming out of certain states than others. I have a class specifically on this called Coach Views of Wrestling Recruiting. I would definitely check this out. I run it once a month, so keep an eye out for that. Then last thing, communication is extremely important to the recruiting process, especially in a small sport like wrestling, where most staff outside of your big schools are about 2 to 3 coaches. So they don't have a lot of manpower. They don't have a lot of time to be able to be very proactive in the recruiting process. So make sure that you're staying proactive, reach out, and it's definitely something something that we can work on here throughout the process. So a couple classes I would definitely suggest signing up for. Technique Tuesday, I run it every week, break down a new move each week. Wrestling Recruiting, the winter edition, break down what you should be going on during the winter time of the year in the recruiting process. Weight management, I have a weight management class kind of going over how to manage your weight correctly, as well as figuring out if you're cutting too much weight. The Wrestling Coaches Views recruiting class that I just spoke about, and then Coach Communication underclassmen for freshmen and sophomores, and upperclassmen for juniors and seniors. Okay, as far as material goes, that's what I had for you guys here tonight. So if you don't have any questions, you're absolutely free to leave, and I appreciate you joining. But if you do have any other questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat box below, and I'll answer them as they come in. No, you're welcome. Be a bit ahead of the game. But yeah, definitely a good thing, Christian, to get on things early and set and ready to go for once things really kick up as far as the recruiting process goes. So, not a problem, and you have a good night as well. As far as that goes, I mean, depending on where things are at, as far as the communication, the coaches he's talking with, and everything, the wrestling recruiting process is late. So, just for an example, with kids that I worked with in the 2015 class, I had some kids getting offers and committing as late as the end of June, early July after their senior year. So that's definitely an extreme. But just to kind of show you an example of how late things can go, we'll get a coaching session set up to kind of go over everything and dive in. Shoot me an email over when you find out a good day and time that we can connect via phone, so we can go over this, because I want to make sure obviously see where everything's at, and get a game plan set up for you guys moving forward as well. Awesome. All right. Well, signing up for the class. If you guys have any questions after watching, please let me know, and have a great night.